Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Life Administration Podcast. My name is Ryan Talon, and with me, as always, is...
Leslie Loftus. Hello, everybody.
Hello. We're feeling good today.
For the first time in about 3 weeks, I'm actually feeling like, okay, I'm not just trying to check it off the to-do list. And,
right.
It's been depressing. Quarantine has been depressing.
It certainly has, but I think, at least for us in Texas and in some other states, like things are, there's a sliver.
Right. Tomorrow I can go to
play tennis.
Play tennis, yes. I can only play tennis with 2 other people or 3 other people, so you can play a set of doubles.
Right.
I can play tennis.
You can play.
Sorry, I really had a hard time getting back into shape after, well, you didn't know back then, but after the twins, I had a hard time getting back into shape. And then when I met you, I was still writing, and it was a very sedentary activity. And, really have clawed my way back into any sort of healthy in shapeness.
Sure.
And tennis was playing a big part of that in the past year. And then along comes Corona, and I can't do that. And I haven't been drinking a ton, but considering I was almost drinking nothing before,
right?
You definitely have memories of the freshman 15 going off to school and eating more, drinking. Yeah,
so
more calories going in than going out.
I have found there are 2 camps. There are people that have lost a ton of weight. My friend Brian Gross. He's lost 55 pounds.
Now, because of depression or walking the dogs all the time, or both?
Because he's actually on this nutrition plan, and he wanted to lose some weight, and so he's been doing that. He's been doing a fantastic job. He's lost 55 pounds. When I talked to him the other day, it's unbelievable. Yep. So he's doing really good. Then there's me. Okay. So we have had the discussion and the conversation of this is the pant size. Okay. We're, I put a bathing suit on to play with my daughter a couple days ago. And I mean, the top was folding over because the gut just said, nope, wait, this waistband is not strong enough to hold the gut in. So
dad bod.
Yeah. Plus bod. Times squared, whatever. It's not good. So, and this has been, I'm happy, but this has been a little bit of a week for me.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit of a week. So
sorry, he just filled me in.
Yeah. And so I'm just, because I think it's sort of, it tails into what we're talking about here. Right. So the episode that we haven't decided what we're calling it yet.
Right.
So this may not be the final, but the point of the episode really is seizing these opportunities for change, right?
We've just had a big, great pause.
Yes.
Forced upon us. So how can we keep the good stuff that we liked about it and we've now found out a lot more stuff about how we work, how we live, how we really want to live.
Yep. This is annoying me.
Let's be intentional about keeping what we want to keep and getting rid of what we want to get rid of.
Yeah.
But as you
I had a
found
preview.
out,
I had a preview basically. It was my life went from, okay, you're you got to start doing all these other things.
Yeah, when we were recording last week or 2 weeks ago, your to-do list had blown up, and then as isolation went on, you'd gotten through all of it, and then also between getting all the rhythms of life, how to make to-do lists and stuff, you're like, we got it.
Yep. I don't got it, right?
Exactly.
So I've been doing a lot more stuff, a lot more production things, doing a lot of recording and producing. And, it really sort of started with last week having a little bit of an issue with an episode that we were posting, right? I thought we were well beyond that, but clearly not quite yet. So we had to make a little bit of a zigzag and change some things around and whatnot. But that took many hours. Then an increase in recording instruments for my church, also doing kids church as well. So it was just a lot.
He's been doing really well with the tech stuff at his church, so they've asked him to do more, which is all great. But it suddenly grew. And then what happened to your regular old life administration list at home that you'd knocked through? It
blew up.
It regenerated.
Because
that's the way life administration does.
And that's what happened. So now all of a sudden I walk in here. Even yesterday, last night, I was actually feeling anxious because I had realized that all of these wonderful things that I had set in place and had done, were just non-existent. Like I looked at my to-do list and thought, oh my gosh, where am I going to find the time for this? And I actually had a little bit of anxiety, and I went to bed early and said, I just need a good night's sleep. And honestly, that's what did it. I went to bed and woke up this morning, like totally refocused.
Because aren't you finding too, now that you've got some of the base procedures in place, now that you've gotten behind, getting back in front of it is less difficult, more difficult?
It's way easier because what happens, I think, for me anyway, is that my brain, or I've already developed that muscle memory of how everything is supposed to work, right? I know when I want to be doing laundry. I know when, what's even stupid stuff, when I'm going to be feeding the dog, when I'm going to be making the coffee, like I have these rhythms in place. And so really it's more of like this refocusing effort. Right. And so I woke up this morning thinking, okay, today is it's a normal day for me in the sense of I'm coming here, you and I are getting together, we're recording, I'm going to be with the kids later. And then like I have these other things to do when I go home, but it's like I feel relieved almost.
Because exactly, you can see and you can plan for how it's going to phase out because well, you've already got all of, these basic management skills that we've talked about in some of the earlier episodes. You've got those down.
Yes.
Right.
And so I think that basically I was lucky enough to be able to preview this for everybody else because I think that a lot of people are going to be going through this very, very soon.
Yes. Yeah. And as you saw how quickly it can get out, like, so here we are thinking, okay, these are the great new rhythms that we've got going on. But if you aren't actually working towards them and saying, okay, these are the things that I want to make sure to preserve. These are the things that, I don't want to do that anymore. Yeah. I don't actually need that in my life or whatever. So I want to consciously cut them because it would be really, really fast to just all of a sudden have the old normal creep right back in and take over.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So this episode is about how do you prevent that? How do you choose what you want to do?
Yeah. So let's talk about really quickly about like what parts of the lockdown life do you want to keep? You go off on that. I'm going to go do something. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yes. Okay. We have children downstairs that are looking for me that apparently have forgotten that I record on Thursdays. Thank you, Ryan. What did he tell me that was? Oh my goodness. How about this? Yes. So things that you want to keep and the things that you don't want to keep. And some of the simplest one that we can think of is time aspects. There's probably a lot of stuff that's gone on in your life for the quarantine that you like the rhythm of. You like how you have more time to, say, read or more time to have dinner with the family or, there's a lot of, well, you said you had three. You had three things that you kind of you really wanted to keep. Yeah. Doing.
So I'm back, by the way.
Okay. Yeah.
Hi. Okay.
In case anybody is not watching. Yes.
There are three things. The first thing is the way that my family time has been structured. I think probably most people will agree with me that you've spent more time with your family and it's been a quality time improvement, not just quantity, right? There's
been a lot of discussion. I've seen emails with friends, talking with friends, seeing on social media about we're having meals together. We're having, family game time or family movie night together. Obviously, we're not going to keep those same levels as things return to normal. Right. But we want to keep some of it. We don't want to let it go. We don't want to let busyness of life get in the way so much that we don't get that family.
Yeah. So the first thing for me was I like spending time with my daughter first thing in the morning. You right? So Lauren typically is like, she's setting up the day for success, right? She's sort of mapping
the life administration stuff, making sure, okay, we're going to have this for lunch. Right. Yeah, we're going to go to the park not the park anymore, but we're going to go on a walk then.
Yep. So we're going to the park mañana, tomorrow. It's happening. So she's sort of mapping out, making sure that the day is successful. And what I have done is I've taken Hallie basically out of the equation. So she's not mom. Mm-hmm. So we're having breakfast together. We're talking about like, what are you excited to do today? Maybe we're doing just like
daddy and daughter time.
Yeah, daddy-daughter time, right? She even says daddy-daughter. It's daddy-daughter time. She even says it. She has a term for it. So that's the first thing that I really, really want to make sure that I keep going. There's no reason as I look forward into the future, there's no reason that habit can't be different, right? We can keep it. Absolutely. The second thing is just this clear division of this is the time that I'm working. Okay. So for me, being able to say, all right, while Lauren is doing her daily stuff, we also, we've been texting each other our schedules, right? So as she puts the things together, instead of just putting it in the calendar, we're doing this, but it's very like in your face. This, I'm texting you the schedule right now. So
you're going to be up in the loft from 9 to 11:45
exactly.
doing these edits or doing something for the church. Right, exactly.
Right. These are the times that my lessons are at. These are the times that I have a discipleship meeting because I got my schedule sort of like all over the place, right? And one of the things,
y'all check in with each other using daily schedules on a text.
Yeah, because a lot of times like things can change for me where, you know, someone from the church, they can't meet at this time all of a sudden. So now this has moved to 11, and luckily like that never really is an issue for us because most of my teaching is later at night, except for on a couple certain days, which I don't schedule any church stuff on those days. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing is the time for myself. So I've also found that I've done a lot of personal development in this time, that I've done way more studying and reading.
There's opportunities for quiet time that there just weren't before. And I don't think you were at all alone in wanting to keep
it. And I think I know that I have felt better. So I know that I wouldn't be where I'm at right now if I hadn't made the investment in myself the way that I have these past 6 to 7 weeks, right? I think other people have seen some growth in me as well. So I want to make sure that I keep that. So I mean, to me, it's all these things. It's family time, it's work time, and it's personal time, and just clearly defining those out because they are important to me and my growth and my happiness.
All right. So there's point one. One, everybody needs to think through their isolation life, their lockdown life, and think about those things. What are those three things for you? Now, I'm going to hazard a guess that there's going to be a lot of overlap, at least in theme, you know, family time, clear delineation of work time and self-time. Self-care time. But, you know, everybody could have different, slightly different, but go ahead and think through what those things are so that you know, okay, these are the things that I actually wanted to fit. Now I'm also going to say, think through some of the stuff that you know what? I didn't miss that at all.
I don't want to spend any more time in my backyard.
Well, and then also there's the things that, okay, here, you know, so often we had some sort of chore or some sort of thing that we were going to do when we had more time. And then once we got stuck in lockdown and we had that more open time, or most of us did, we didn't do that thing because it turns out we didn't really want to do that thing. Now, some of those things, well, tough. You got to do them anyway. Like you're going to still have to mow the backyard, right? You still have to. I know you don't want to, but there's
like I got to spray for bugs tonight.
Right, exactly.
Home,
there's only so much you can knock up. But okay, if you had maybe, oh, you know what? As soon as I have more time, I'm going to put in a really fancy flower bed in my backyard. You now know you don't want to do that. You know what? I'm just going to do the minimum that I need to do in my backyard. I ain't interested in putting in the big flower bed. Okay. Go through and, you know, cut your losses on that stuff that you don't want to do, that you don't need to do. Focus on the stuff that you want to preserve. And now let's talk about actually keeping it. So one of the things you talked about was your work schedules and having a delineated work schedule. And so the two of you have come up with a method that you can continue on later on where you, in the morning, email or text each other your general schedule for the day so that everybody, you know, that sounds like a great idea. Good expectation management, stuff like that. But also you were able to do, you know, you can defend that morning time, say with Hallie, because you are a music teacher and a behind the scenes tech guy for your church and for this podcast. So you have a lot of control over your own work schedule. Okay. Some people don't have, like, sometimes people are this is going on with my husband's law firm as we speak. So all the lawyers, everybody has been working from home all this time. The firm has actually sent out a survey for these next few weeks as we ramp back up. What are your expectations? How much time do you think you're going to spend in the office? By the way, they're not pressuring people they're really just trying to get a feel because there's actually quite a bit that can be done remotely. They've seen it from the business side. the attorneys have seen it from their own work side. I mean, the idea, my husband's like, the idea that I might travel for a procedural hearing. I mean, obviously real hearings, but procedural hearings, goodness gracious, Zoom worked really well for the. So what are your options for your work life? Because different careers, different professions are going to have different options for those kind of things. And how can you adjust? Think through, okay, if I don't have the work from home job that, dovetails easily into work from home and on my own control time, but I want to make sure to preserve that daddy-daughter time. Well, one, could it move to lunch or to dinner? Two, how can I rearrange my work schedule? And then you know what? Ask.
Yes.
Ask. You don't get what you don't ask for. And at no other time, our bosses, our companies, they're open-minded about it too right now, because we've just had a great test of, and by the way, I don't mean great as in, oh, wonderful. I mean great as in big, massive scale, as in the Great Depression, the Great War, right?
Yeah.
We've just had these great tests about what is actually possible to do remotely, what's not. We, I think, have all learned that not every jobs can't go completely remotely. Like FaceTime matters.
Yeah.
FaceTime matters.
Yes.
But it doesn't necessarily matter in the Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, 9 to 5. And I think everybody's kind of,
Yeah.
And bosses are going to, this would not be the time, I don't think, to be in commercial real estate.
No.
Right. Because a lot of companies are realizing, wait, okay, we can easily do 30, 40, 50% of what we've been doing in the office remotely. We still need to have this gathering space where people come together, because we still do need the face-to-face. It look different for each industry, each company, but they don't need as much office space as they did.
Right.
And for them, that's going to be a huge cost cutter, right? So I think over the next few years, we're going to see a lot of that stuff shuffle up. So anyway, think through your stuff. Think through what you want to keep, what you don't want to keep, and then ask for it. Seek it.
So I have put myself back in corporate mode for just because I have a lot of people asking me this question.
So you mean not just for this moment in the podcast, but you've had to get back.
I've been thinking about it because
this is a conversation going on.
Yeah,
people
no,
are starting to.
It is, and I think and it's anecdotal. So I can't with no great certainty can I say, here's the percentage of productivity that is going up. But
the plural of anecdote is not data. Yes.
Right. So, but I will say that people that I have talked to in mass have felt that their productivity has gone up while they have been at home. That they are finding after maybe the first week or two, right? That they have developed rhythms. They're in their mode, and that they've even gotten feedback from their bosses and said, "Hey, our productivity has gone up. I like this."
And the amount of time that they've probably spent on it is so really the productivity efficiency has gone up because
you're not driving to work.
Right. It's amazing when you don't have those little bits of broken time.
No one's coming into my office interrupting me about whatever. There's little water cooler talk, because you're on to the next thing. You're on to the next thing. So I really want to echo that point of ask. And in no time have you ever had the opportunity to say, hey, can we think about shifting my schedule, whatever, maybe a couple of days at home. Now, with that being said, the piece that I think that you're really talking about, and you labeled it as FaceTime, is relationship building.
Yes.
Okay. The world works on relationships. And one thing that has suffered greatly in this time is the ability to build and maintain relationships, unless you're seeing, it's just not the same if you're on a Zoom call and you're looking at 8 speaker boxes. If you have previous history with those folks, it's different. But
the Brady Bunch screen is just not cutting it.
Yeah.
Well, and what were we talking about at the beginning? That both of us, this is the first time that we really, in a couple of weeks, that we haven't just felt bummed, depressed. This has been a very bummed out time.
Yep.
And that is probably most of the reason why, unless you had actual direct interaction with the virus, or if you're a first responder, and you've been an essential
job,
right? You've been an essential employee. You've lost your job. Okay, again, we're talking about those of us for whom
we're just staying home.
COVID was secondary effects, and we're just staying home. But there was it was just depressing. And a lot of it has to do with the fact you didn't have the face-to-face.
Yeah.
We are very social creatures, humans, and we need that interaction. We need those relationships.
And I'll tell you this, and here's another thing that I want to keep, is that, so we've been going out for walks, because I think most people have been going out for walks, and like you sort of see your neighbors. Now,
right.
If you've followed us for any amount of time, you know that I don't really mix super great with my neighbors. Just because I don't see them or whatever.
And you were totally normal and typical of your cohort in that,
right.
Because neighbor knowledge, community skills have been on the wane for a very long time.
So in the past 2 weeks, we have my neighbor that's 2 doors down from me. His name is Heinz, and his wife is Caroline. And I found out that their son wants to learn how to play guitar, and they had a music teacher 2 doors down. Right?
And you can walk.
I literally can walk there. Yeah. Now, of course, like they didn't know that, right? But again, just kind of being out in the neighborhood and that sort of thing. That Hallie, that there's a boy named Jackson, and they live in our neighborhood. That some very unfortunate circumstances happen, and now it's his mom and his grandmother that are taking care of him. Well, Hallie and Jackson are just like in love with each other.
Peas and carrots.
Right? Peas and carrots. Just one of those things. I've never seen her take to another child the way that they have taken to each other, right?
And 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds just kind of sometimes do that and
exactly.
Run with it.
So Sunday they're gonna come over in the backyard. We got the little pool set up and the trampoline, because they don't have any of that action.
Right.
Like, but we have all of that sort of stuff. Come on over, send them in there, right? We'll still do all the social distancing things, right? I'm not going to be hugging and high-fiving people. But I think this idea of getting back to basics, right? It's not only just your family, but that there are people
community and your
around
neighbors.
you.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I found out that one of the guys that I work with at my church, he lives literally 2 minutes. We're in the same neighborhood.
And you didn't know. You're 2 blocks away from me.
I've known him for 3 years.
Didn't know you lived around the corner from each other.
Until we were outside and we walked by each other and we're like, wait a minute. Wait, I live right. Oh my, okay. So like, think about all the misses that are going around in your local neighborhood just because you were so busy of like getting to the next thing. I like to see us keep that.
Right, absolutely. Neighborhood community is one of the big things that I want to see, not only preserve, but see grow.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. And so same thing, walks have been really clutch in this whole thing. Everybody's saying, I have at least a couple of friends that have mentioned things about, their dogs are actually tired of walks. I mean, now getting a... Exactly.
Wait, didn't you just figure out how to walk your dogs?
I did just figure out how to walk my dogs. It's just, so I have 3 dogs, one giant, one large, and one medium.
They've seen them all.
That's right. They've seen them all. Anyway, walking them all 3 together is incredibly complicated and it's just kind of nuts. But we found if we split them up in a 2-1 set, it's taken me till this morning, 7 weeks. So Jim walked one of the dogs. I took the other 2 dogs and we came back. Wolfhounds don't actually need that much walking. So a 15, 20-minute walk is totally good for them for the day. Bring them back. And a couple of hours later, one of my daughters has finished her schoolwork and like, Mom, can I do some PE time? I'm just going to, and usually I say, no, you can't take one dog because Jim is on conference calls. And if you only take one dog, the other 2 go
ballistic. Yeah.
Rose sung Ride of the Valkyries one day. It was really kind of crazy. It was hysterical, but very, very loud. There would be no anything else. So today I was like, all right, if you sneak out with Ruby, you can take her on a walk. Since the other 2 had already been on a walk, there was minimal. I mean, there was a little bit of, all right, fine, go.
Yeah, right.
7 weeks into this, and I figured out that if I take all 3 of them for a 15-minute one in the morning, that
everything's fine.
I feel stupid.
We teach this.
Feel stupid. Yes, we teach this, and I feel stupid.
But I mean, it just goes to show that everyone's circumstances are different, right?
Right. But I mean, how many people, like you said, you're walking around the neighborhood with your dog and your daughter, and you've run into more people. Same thing. I already knew my neighbors here on my street, but I have learned more about my neighbors 2 or 3 blocks over from being out and walking myself or walking the. Continue that. Not to mention, and that also can kind of dovetail in with the self-care time that we want to keep. If you want to keep a 30-minute walk or something this is the time to defend that. This is the time to stand and deliver and defend.
Because I will say, and especially after going through it this last week, maybe getting an early preview of how quickly life can go back to what you remember, is all of a sudden you find yourself going a little bit crazy. Because you haven't defended that time. Right. And if you don't draw the line in the sand right now and say, these are the things that I'm going to stand for. I'm going to stand for for me, my daddy-daughter time. I'm going to stand for my self-improvement time. Right. If I don't draw the line in the sand, that's going to just get washed away. Quickly. Very, very, very quickly. Because the unfortunate thing about the lives that we live is that this will be in the rear view mirror 6 months, a year from now. Yes. And people will go, remember when? And if you can't go, well, I that didn't change the way that I live. Well, that's probably a problem. You probably are missing out on some things that were really beneficial for you but because the busyness of life came up, because you were so quick to get back into the things of life. And
I'm eager too. I mean,
definitely, we're all eager.
Right.
We're all
but
eager.
Don't let your defenses down.
Yeah.
Figure out 3 or so things that you want to defend and defend them.
And I want to go back really quickly just to this thing that you said. And you said specifically about the flower garden. You said, well, before this, I just kept thinking I didn't have enough time to do the flower garden. But then you had all this time and then you didn't do it, right? Right. So that's a self-facing evaluation that you need to have with yourself. Yep. And you got to let it go, right? Because those thoughts, like if you're not a flower bed person, then you're not a flower bed person. Right. So what? So what? I don't care if every single neighbor you have or how many pictures on Instagram that you've seen of, and boy, I'd really like to do this. If you didn't do it now, it's not getting done. Right. It's just not. And that's okay. Right?
And that's totally fine.
Forgive yourself. Let it go.
You still have to mow the lawn. Yeah. Yes. You still have to spray for bugs.
Definitely.
You don't have to spend hours planting a flower garden that you don't want to plant. No. I mean, and again, we're just using this analogy. Choose your own thing. That is like, your own thing. I know I've seen tons of people talk about, oh gosh, I was going to do that. And no, I didn't do it.
I didn't do it.
I didn't do it. Really, I'm not the kind to binge watch TV, or I'm never going to read that series of books or whatever it was.
Because it just didn't fall on a high enough priority for me. I'd rather be doing something else, whether that is for self-entertainment or whatever, or family time. But the reality is that thing doesn't matter that much to me.
So go ahead, unless it is one of those essential things that, sorry, you just can't cut it out. Dishwashing. I hate dishwashing. It's still got to be done, okay? Unless it's one of those essential things, let it go. Yeah. Sing the song even.
Yeah. So we've talked about things that we want to preserve. We've sort of talked about defending our time and our time management and things like that. So let's talk about the ugly one.
Okay, because this one comes up with time. You're asking your boss, can I rearrange this? First of all, you need to make sure that you have the money to, if nothing else, that old advice about, oh yes, you should always have 3 to 6 months of cash expenses in the bank. Okay. And cash, because it's liquid, something you can get to easily. If quickly. You have, your balance sheet might look just fine because you own an expensive house and an expensive car. So your assets look like you have plenty of money, but you can't, and especially when the quarantine happened. What, you're going to sell your house and move to a different house?
I can't spend my house on toilet paper.
You can't spend your house on toilet. Right. So you need to have 6 months of liquid, easy to assess cash stored away somewhere in, some checking account, something else. Now that makes sense. I mean, so often how many, people either didn't know about that rule. It had just kind of fallen by the wayside because it had never really become relevant, or, well, gosh, I've got so much student debt, I can't possibly do that. I mean, so many things kept people from keeping that emergency reserve.
Absolutely.
Now we know why. Right. That was the advice.
Yeah. And a lot of us, and I think to myself, like, yes, we went through Hurricane Harvey and that was rough, but I don't know if on a global scale, how many people have gone through something like this, right? Where it's like the whole nation.
And even Harvey was shorter. We're talking 2-3 weeks of everybody being out instead of 7.
Right. You know? And people were able to go in and rebuild and that sort of thing, right? Where this is, we're on step 1 of getting to, right. And we're all ecstatic because at least it's step stinking 1, right? You know what I mean? Because before it was like, what is it going to take for us to figure out and move forward from this? And now it's like, okay, we actually see the light at the end of the tunnel. And we're just hoping it's not a train. You know what I mean? Right?
Right. So everybody needs to be going through their budget right now. Again, we taught you how to do a basic budget back in Money 101. But even those of you who did that exercise with us or who have a basic, you're going to want to look at it again. One, because some of these time things that we talked about, maybe the time that, I don't need to, I don't want to work full time anymore. So I'm going to go part time, or I'm going to shift to this industry where I can work. Okay. So your salary might change as a couple, or as a single person, however. So you're going to need to reevaluate that. You might need to reevaluate your base expenses because you're going to want to start squirreling away so that you have money for the 6-month thing we've talked about. In the old episode, we talked about savings and we talked about paying off debt. Well, suddenly you're like, okay, wait a second. So I've got my base expenses of mortgage, electricity bills, groceries, car payment, and you told me to put in stuff for savings and I have to pay off my debts from school or from credit cards. And now I'm supposed to also be squirreling money away for I can't divide it up that much. Okay, well, then you probably need to rethink your basics. This might prompt an entire rebudgeting and, do you need to move? Well, and also here's the thing. We just learned that remote work is more possible, especially in certain industries. It's time to reevaluate all of that.
That's the thing is like, you really need to, when it comes to your money, your finances, reevaluating your life is you got to be able to see the forest through the trees. Right. And so if you get too granular early on, which is, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this, time out.
Right.
Time out. Let's take a step back. Let's look, like you just said, let's look at our job. Let's look at the commute. Am I in the right field? Everything is up for grabs right now.
Exactly.
Everything is up for grabs. And you said it earlier, if you don't ask, you will not receive. Right. So now it's time to ask and the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Because if you're not asked, because there might only be three people that they can allow to work from home. And if you're not one of the people that asked, then you never get it. Right. So like that's that sort of thing. So I keep thinking of myself when it comes to savings, and that was so hard for so long to be like, oh, I just got to get this savings going. I always felt like some expense or something just came out until finally I just said, you know what? I started at $50 a week. $50 a week doesn't seem like a lot. It doesn't. But all of a sudden now, over the course of 2.5 years, and then be able to dumping a little bit more in there when I can, now it's $3,500.
Right.
Right. And I don't think about it. It's just this little bit at a time, right? And then I get that compound interest working for me, right? And so I would just say,
you get habit working for you. You get compound interest working for you. Yes. Whenever you're putting your cash away for this little savings thing, try to find something that will at least pay you some interest.
You can find savings accounts out there that give you 2%, right? Like, I mean, it takes a little bit of work, and maybe it's an online bank or something, but don't be scared of that. It's all good. Like, just whatever. Go find something that's going to help you. But the reality is you hear things like, you have to have 6 months of savings. Well, that doesn't mean you have to have 6 months of savings tomorrow.
Correct. And that's what I want everyone, because after the great pause, this is a wonderful time to think and reset. Now we know why you want 6 months worth of savings. Now you have more motivation to aim for there. It's no longer an abstract concept. It is now, oh gosh, things would have been a lot easier just from a stress level standpoint if I'd been able to have even 3 months expenses and savings. So stick it on your priorities.
Yes.
And once again, that very well may mean looking at your entire budget, reworking your budget, and it might require job changes. It might require moving. Everything's on the table.
Yeah, everything's on the table.
Everything's on the table.
And don't be afraid to do some things that maybe that you look at it and go, well, like for me, I remember the moment that it was like, okay, we're not doing cable anymore.
Right.
We're not doing cable anymore. This is $110 a month, and we got all these channels, and we never watch it. But the reality is, we watch Netflix and we watch Hulu, and all of a sudden, it was like, we're gonna make that change. And it felt awkward at first because we just didn't have the perceived option of watching TV, right?
Exactly. And then figuring out exactly, okay, well, I want to tune into that. How do I tune into it now that I don't have cable? But that's a couple of hours on a weekend that you figured it out. And then...
Yeah, and all of a sudden now I get $110 and I have to watch TV shows a day after everybody else. Well, so be it.
Yes.
Sorry. Well, to censor myself there for a second.
Beep.
Yeah. Fix it in post. So, I mean, that's the thing is like, you got to be willing to examine. And that's a really simple example of cord cutting. But another example for me is like, what car are you driving? You know, I'm looking to have more kids. Well, it's probably time to say bye to my Camaro, you know, as much as that hurts my heart. Right. And I love that car. And that car was something to me that I went and that I bought when I got my first big promotion. And it was like.
So it's one of those, I really did it.
I really did it. I have emotional attachment into it. Right. I got this huge bonus. I put a ton of money down on it. Small car payment, the whole thing. But like, I don't need it anymore because I'm 38 turning 39. And I want more babies, and I want 4 doors. Right?
And we will eventually do some life administration shows about kids. We do have one coming up on like how to travel with kids.
Yeah.
We just didn't make
sense.
Nobody's thinking about that right now. So you've probably heard this before. I'm sorry, minivan people. It's like they did their research and they put a bunch of parents in the car and they said, I know minivans aren't cool. I know they are cool. They're so awesome, especially if you get one of the ones where they really did their research. And it's so, once you have more than 2 kids, it's just like, you don't care about the lack of coolness. I've even seen one of my friends put flame racing stripes on her minivan. Awesome.
So Lauren is like, she is like, I want an SUV. I'm like, fine, you can have the SUV. Give this guy the Dodge Grand Caravan, baby. I'm ready. I'm ready to live in that thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm done.
Honestly, you almost could.
Yeah.
While you have multiples still in car seats.
Yeah.
Cool factor be damned. Minivans are awesome.
Yeah, because you know what? At the end of the day, like when I have to bring 4 or 5 people to the beach, we're taking the Caravan. The days of the top down. Are well beyond us. Right.
Us. And they'll come again.
Yes.
They will come again. They just won't come again for about 10 years.
Yep.
And yeah, back to all of the little life administration, just the getting in and out of the car and safety and being able to haul this and yeah.
Give me the Caravan. I'm ready. Dodge, we're ready for you to sponsor us. I'll test drive it. Okay, what else? Do you have anything else? Boy, I feel like we covered a lot there. That's pretty good. And I'm amped up. I'm feeling good. Like you said, the last couple episodes, you finish and you say, okay, yeah, that was good. 40 minutes, cool. Back to life.
Yeah, no, today I don't actually.
have a spark today, Leslie.
Exactly. Somehow, like you said, the light's at the end of the tunnel and we're really, really hoping it's not a train.
Definitely. So anything else for the good folks?
No, just to reiterate, think through what you want to preserve.
Yep.
And work to preserve it. And then just know that everything's on the table, from how you work, how you live, where you live, how you drive. Like your cable example.
Yep.
Well, everybody's gas bills went way, way down. And well, now if you negotiate something with your boss that you're only going into work, say 2 times a week and you're working from home 3 days a week, well, that's a significant chunk of your...
Absolutely.
Well, heck, just translate that into your savings and start to sock away that extra.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah, just be mindful, right?
Right. So think about those kind of opportunities, and those kind of things are going to shift.
Yep.
Oh, and also, at least from my social media feeds, everything in my own experience, we all know how to cook more.
We sure do.
So, going out and...
Some awesome salmon patties last night. Lauren just...
restaurant expenses might go down a little bit because, well, you're never going to buy sour cream again.
The time in our marriage, I kid you not, Laura and I have been married over a decade. And the first time in our marriage, she cooked every single day last week. Every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like this huge, it started just becoming this rhythm, right? We got the stuff, we get the groceries delivered, we start cooking at 5 o'clock.
You get the rhythms down,
yep.
and it's shocking how, when you don't have to think about it every single time,
Yep.
it's so much. There was a ton of time wasted in the thinking it through and stopping at the grocery store every day. And quarantine has forced us to deal with some of that stuff. And I think almost universally, we're all probably better in the kitchen now than we were.
Definitely. Yeah. And my closing thought for really all of this is don't be afraid of change.
Right.
That this is an opportunity for you to do something different. If you're alive, you grow. And if you grow, you change. And that's all there is to it. And so don't be afraid of doing things that might feel a little bit uncomfortable right now, because I'm here to tell you, if it feels a little uncomfortable, you're probably on the right track. Mm-hmm. So just like,
because everything feels a little odd and unnatural.
Yeah, hey, we're going to do this, right?
Just don't let momentum just all of a sudden suck you back into the way things were before.
Right. I've said it before. You happen to the day. Don't let the day happen to you.
Exactly.
Right. And so right now we've all been in control of our days.
I was actually trying to think of that a few minutes ago.
Yep. Right. We've all been in control of our days because we've had no other choice.
Right.
And now we're going to be handing some of that back to life, back to other people. And it's up to us to hold on to it and make sure that we're doing the things that we're doing. So let's close it out.
All right.
Cool. If you're listening to us on Spotify, Google Play, or iTunes, please give us a 5-star rating on there. If you're watching us on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe. Do all of those wonderful things. You can find me most chatty on Twitter at Ryan Talon, RyanTailon.
And I may be found on Twitter at Leslie Loftus TX. And I then run the show notes on the website, lifeadministration.com, where you can basically find all of our stuff. Mm-hmm. I also run our Pinterest show notes board, Life Administration. And I'm still trying to get Instagram really running. I'm working it out. It's Life Administration, and we usually have announcements and some mini casts. And
yes.
Sometimes we get nitty gritty into, okay, how do you actually write a household budget?
Right. Definitely. So with that, without further ado.
His tenses. Here we go.
I have been Ryan Talon.
And I have been Leslie Loftus. Thanks, y'all, for joining us.
And you have been awesome. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, y'all.